Hey guys! So, today we are going to talk about why it's so important to learn something from scratch. So let's get into it. Now, let's talk about context, because you know I love that word. Context gives meaning to the ramblings that I do on this little channel of mine, and so we're gonna have a little bit of it today as well. So, just yesterday I was just working, normal day, working on whatever it is that I do at my company. It's unclear at this point what I actually do, but I assume that I try to have a healthy, most of the other developers produce a lot of value and money for the company, and I try to be the counterbalance by costing the company a little bit in terms of bugs and regressions, so that, you know, everybody's on their toes. But to my surprise, one of my co-workers had a little bit of an issue this fine day. And the issue was that he was tasked with restructuring some of the JavaScript code on the project, right? And in order to do so, he needed to mess around with Webpack, and more specifically, Webpack's configurations. Oh, Webpack configurations. Now, for the juniors out there, you may not know this, but Webpack is by far one of the, I mean, apart from it being the most popular bundler that I know of, and it probably is just universally the most popular tool for JavaScript development as of today, it's also the most feared thing to mess around with if you're a little bit unsure on how it works, because it is a damn complicated application development tool. It is. If you don't understand how it works, it's super complicated. Now, don't tell anybody this, but I suspect that I may have gotten this job just because I know this tool. Don't know. Shh, don't say anything. I might be wrong. Anywho, I come over to my coworker, we start working, and I kind of identify the problem, and we talk a little bit and so forth. And he explains to me that he was, you know, he felt that, like, when I sat down with him and I walked him through all the code, and I explained, okay, so this is how it works, this is why it does this, and so forth. He's a little bit more, like, he's fairly, I think he's actually going back to school, but anywho. And then he says this beautiful thing. He says, "Thank you, Frederick. I mean, the thing is that if I already have something to look at when I start working, it feels like I can understand the code when it's already there. But since I'm right now writing this from scratch, I don't have anything to reference to help me or guide me when I work. It's like, it's almost like I don't really get it, you know. I can't just make something from nothing." Exactly. He touches on something that I think is so important. I told him that it's the same thing for me. I mean, for me, Scala is still fairly new. Like, I have been working with it for a few months now, and I feel fairly comfortable in the code base as is. But not when I don't have anything to reference. Not when I have to do it from scratch. And so we got to talking. And I explained that this is why I was so fierce and tried to push so much for my old tutors back in the university, that it is vital that you teach us how to start from nothing. You cannot have the mindset that you should only learn things in a controlled environment. If you have to have something ahead of time and you don't have the capacity of starting from nothing, you will fool yourself into thinking that you know more than you do, and that's dangerous. And so I told my coworker, one of the most common things that people will do is that they will learn a tool or an abstraction, something that is on top of something else, or they will get the ability, quote unquote, to work in an environment where things are already set up for them, where they can start working immediately, and they already have example code and so forth. It's actually very common that you will learn your environment as opposed to learning how things actually work. And the dangerous part here is that you now start to get a sense of confidence that is tied in to your ability to change something you already understand. What does that mean? Well, it means that if you already have written software and you understand software, it's very easy for you to understand what somebody else already created from scratch. But if I ask you to sit down and I remove all of that, all those reference points, I remove this dictionary or this template, you can't do it. This was exactly what happened to me not that long ago, where I was asked to, I've been able to be productive and produce value for the company in the Scala code base for months. And then my boss asked me to build something from scratch, a new service. There was no setup code, nothing. I had to do everything from the SPT configuration, like from nothing. It was super hard. And since I already know this, I told them, this is why I always stay humble. Always. As much as I humanly can, because although I can trick myself into believing that I know this stuff, all it takes is for somebody to, if you want to check whether or not you actually know what you know, all it takes is for somebody to ask you, all right, build it from nothing, or build your own implementation of it. A great example of that is, if you want to check if you really know something for real, start by just throwing away all your tools. If you're using WordPress and you want to check this is a classic one. You know WordPress and now you think that you know PHP. All right, throw WordPress away and build it from scratch. Just build it. Build a CMS system yourself. For me, I do this on a regular basis. All right, I think I know JavaScript. Throw away, for example, Redux. Build it from scratch. Right now, I'm trying to build my own testing library. It's going to be absolute crap, but I just want to see if I can do it. Build it from nothing. Because if you can build it when nothing is prepared for you, then you understand it. And the second thing, which I told, as we were talking, I said, the second thing you can do is to teach. If you can't teach something, you don't understand it well enough. That's not my quote. I think it's Feynman who said that, but I agree. He's absolutely correct. Teaching, if you can teach somebody else what you know, then you know it for real. If you can't teach it or explain it in simple terms to somebody else, you don't know it all that well. That's how I think about it anyway. So, to summarize, guys, if you will get to a point, and it's very common that this happens, you will get to a point where you start feeling confident in your abilities when you work at a project. But make sure that you don't let that confidence trick you into believing that you know more than you know. Because the only way for you to really know if you know what you know is to start from nothing. If you can start from nothing and still produce the same results, then you know your stuff. Have a great day.